Hi, this is Tommy G. Kendrick, and I'd like to invite you to spend the next few minutes with me as I talk with author John J. Asher about his novel, The Dogs of Mexico, a novel I recently had the pleasure of producing and narrating as an audiobook.
Thank you, Tommy. I always like talking about our books.
There you go. John, what started you down the path of writing The Dogs of Mexico?
My wife at the time and I flew into Mexico City, and I was kind of fascinated with Mexico. I don't know why. All that kind of dark, something about that, we rented a car in Mexico City, and we drove virtually the whole route, the same route that Robert takes in the novel.
That's Robert Bonner, who's the protagonist.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I made about an hour of video and 4 hours of audio on that trip, just, reference material. I didn't know what I was going to write. And actually, I had the title before I had the story. And
How did that come about that you got the title first?
Well, the roadkill in Mexico is pretty grim. We went out to Pachutla, right out of Pueblo, and it's a little village out there, and there's a big kind of a hill, I guess you'd call it, and supposedly under that hill is an old ancient ruins, and above that there's a church up on top of it, and so we drove up to take a look at the church, and we got out and started walking up there, and there was this pitiful old dog right in the doorway, all humped up, red-eyed looking, and he was really pretty bad. And that just popped into my mind, The Dogs of Mexico. And I thought that's a good title. And I knew then it was not going to be about dogs. That was a metaphor for the people, whoever they were going to be. That was kind of...
You mean the characters in the book, when you say the people?
Yes.
When you began, what type story were you intending to write?
I started off actually thinking of it as a cautionary tale in the classic tragedy, like Shakespearean tragedy type thing. But then I got away from that, and it became basically a thriller.
Right. And sort of a noir thriller.
Since The Dogs of Mexico was an exploration of a different genre for you, how did you find the experience?
I made about half a dozen really false starts on that book. It was very difficult for me to write that book. And some of the scenes in there, I have to confess, are so violent, I kind of would go back to rewrite and touch up with a little bit of trepidation,
How do you decide, okay, this is the story, this is what I'm going to write?
That's a good question, too. Doris Betts said, beginning a new novel is like taking on a long-term illness.
When you begin a new story, what is your process for fleshing out an idea, getting from idea into a full-fledged story?
It takes a long time. I don't know. I have to work my way through it. And you're kind of on the outside, kind of scrambling around, trying to get a toehold into the story, and then after a while you find you start getting parameters or whatever, other objects to relate to, incidents and people, and they start playing off of each other, and you can then take it from there. Somebody said writers are people for whom writing is very difficult. And is that true? Then I am a writer.
Really what do they say? I don't like writing. I like having written. Is that the deal?
Yeah, that's it. Well, actually, I like writing when it's going well. There is something really almost euphoric about when you write something and that's just right. That's it. And but in the country, it's pretty depressing when you work all day, and then you realize in the next morning that's all trash. It's got to go. It's just self-conscious, and there's no. I have to write it until I believe it, and I work and work and work on it until I believe it. And maybe I hypnotize myself. I say, I believe this. I don't care what anybody says.
Thanks for watching this video chat with author John J. Asher. All of John's books are available through his website, johnjasher.com/books. The audiobook version of The Dogs of Mexico is now available on Amazon.com, at Audible.com, and on iTunes. Please do me a favor. If there's a like button beneath this video, click it and share the video with your friends.